Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling one of the first, and I mean the most critical decisions any founder has to make: how to legally structure your business. Look, if you get this wrong, you could be putting your personal assets on the line or just lighting money on fire with unnecessary taxes. But if you get it right, you build a rock-solid foundation for growth.
So let's really get into this. You might think, what's the big deal? Well, it's a huge deal. This one choice hits your personal bank account. It defines how much risk you're personally taking on. And honestly, it can determine whether your company can even grow and get investment down the line.
Exactly. I know we all want to jump right into the exciting stuff, the product, the marketing, the branding, but this legal plumbing that runs underneath everything, it can quietly make or break your entire venture. It affects your day-to-day and your final tax bill.
So, what we're going to do is go on a little journey, an entrepreneur's journey. We are going to walk through the 5 most common business structures, starting right at the beginning, like just an idea phase, all the way up to a company that's ready to take on the world.
All right, this is ground zero. This is where most businesses start, a lot of times without the founder even realizing they've made a choice. And why is that? Because it's the easiest way to begin. It's basically the default setting when you start making money. Now, the thing to see here, the really big trade-off is right on the screen. You get the ultimate simplicity, which is great, but you're also taking on the ultimate risk. All your business profits and losses, they just pass through directly onto your personal tax return.
Super easy, right?
Well, take a look at that last row. That's where the trouble starts. And this, right here, is the point that cannot be overstated. Unlimited personal liability. What that means is if your business gets sued or runs up a bunch of debt it can't pay, there is no legal wall. Creditors can come after your savings, your car, even your house. Legally speaking, your money is the business's money. And this is especially dangerous for partnerships. A handshake deal feels great when everyone's excited at the start. But if you don't have a formal written agreement that spells out who does what, who owns what, and how you'll handle disagreements, well, those disagreements can turn into unbelievably expensive, business-destroying legal battles.
So, your idea is working, you're making real money, and things are getting serious. It's time to stop operating without a safety net. It's time to build a wall of protection. And that brings us to stage 2, raising your first shield with an LLC.
So, remember how we just said that as a sole proprietor, you and the business are legally the exact same thing? No separation whatsoever? Well, creating an LLC completely flips that equation. Boom! You've just created a separate legal person. The business is now its own entity, legally distinct from you, the owner. This is a massive, massive upgrade, and it's a sign that you are taking this seriously. And this is the whole point. This is the magic of the LLC. It's called the corporate veil, and it acts like a financial firewall. Now, if the business goes under or gets sued, your personal assets are generally safe and sound. For any real business, this kind of protection is, frankly, non-negotiable. Okay, so your personal assets are now protected behind that LLC shield. Great. But as your business gets more and more profitable, the game starts to change. It's not just about playing defense anymore. It's about playing smart offense, especially when it comes to your taxes. Now, this is a super common point of confusion, so let's make this crystal clear. You don't go out and form an S-Corp. It's not a thing you create. It's a choice you make. You take your existing LLC and you file a form with the IRS that basically says, hey, from now on, I want you to tax me as if I'm an S-Corporation. Think of it like a tax-saving software update you install on your business. So here's the genius of how it works. You, the owner, are now also an employee of your own company. So you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary, and that salary gets hit with the usual self-employment taxes for Social Security and Medicare. But, and here's the magic trick, any profit left in the company after you've paid that salary can be paid out to you as a distribution, and that distribution is not subject to self-employment tax. Now hold on, you can't just pay yourself a salary of $1 to avoid all the tax. The IRS is wise to that. They require your salary to be reasonable. And they look at stuff like this, your experience, your duties, what other people in your field get paid to make sure you're not lowballing it. The simple question is, what would you have to pay someone else to do your job? That's probably your reasonable salary. And here is why this is such a powerful move. That self-employment tax is about 15.3%.
So if your business has an extra $50,000 in profit, taking that as a distribution instead of more salary could mean putting an extra $7,650 right back in your pocket. For a growing business, that is a real game changer.
All right, we have now reached the final boss of business structures. This isn't for your side hustle. This isn't for the small lifestyle business. This is the C Corporation, the vehicle that is specifically designed for massive, massive scale and explosive growth.
Let me be blunt. If your dream is to raise money from venture capitalists, they are going to demand that you are a C-Corp. It's just the standard. It gives them the flexibility they need to issue different kinds of stock to different kinds of investors, and there are no weird limits on who can own a piece of the company. It is the gold standard for high-growth startups planning to go big.
But all of that flexibility, all that growth potential, it comes with a pretty significant catch. It has a tax complication that all the other structures we've talked about are actually designed to help you avoid.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a tax nightmare. First, the corporation itself pays income tax on whatever profits it makes. Then, if the company takes that after-tax profit and distributes it to shareholders like you have to pay personal income tax on that money again. The very same dollar of profit gets hit with taxes twice.
Okay, wow. We have covered a ton of ground here, right? We've gone from a simple solo gig all the way to a complex venture-backed corporation. We've looked at the trade-offs between simplicity, protection, tax savings, and pure growth potential. So how in the world do you choose what's right for you?
This slide right here, this is your cheat sheet. This lays out the entire journey we just went on, and you can see the whole story in one place. Your liability goes from scary and unlimited to limited and protected, and your taxation goes from super simple to optimized for savings, and finally to the double taxation of the C-Corp, which you only take on if you need that growth potential. But here's maybe the most important takeaway of all. This is not a one-and-done decision. The structure that's perfect for you today might be totally wrong for you in 3 years. So a freelancer might start as a sole prop, grow into an LLC for that sweet liability protection, and then flip the switch to an S-Corp for tax savings. The structure is meant to evolve with your business. And that is the question I want to leave you with. Really think about it. Don't just pick the structure that fits your business right now. Think about your biggest ambitions. Where do you want to be? Because answering that question honestly, that's the first real step to building your business on a foundation that is truly built to last.